Hello, and welcome back to Shaming PENNDOT. Today we are doing Xavier Ranks the 3-digit Interstates, Pennsylvania edition. So that is all these interstates here. We talked about them all on this channel before. Now I'm leaving off 579 because that just guides you around downtown Pittsburgh. And I'm leaving 295 out as well because I didn't actually cover that freeway and it's more in New Jersey than Pennsylvania. You're watching the Xavier 456. I post new highway content every week. If you like this kind of content, please give us a like. And if you really like it, why not subscribe? Yeah, subscribe. Now is the time I must remind you that you can request your exit or intersection in the comments below. We'll be doing US 22 next week, so you still have time to request for that. Alright, it is time to begin. Number 1 on our list for today is probably no surprise to regular viewers of this channel. It's going to be I-276, which is a continuation of the Pennsylvania Turnpike after I-76 in Valley Forge. So here's where I-276 begins in the west, where 76 is signed west for Harrisburg because of the Turnpike continuing on from there. And East 276 is signed to I-476 Northeast Extension, Allentown because of 476, and New Jersey. I'd really prefer New York here, but after seeing what some commenters have said, I concluded that this isn't too much of a crime. At random interchanges where we just get 276 signage and nothing else on there, it's just New Jersey and Harrisburg. Though at other times, we don't just get New Jersey signed, we also get New York signed. But New York is predominantly there because of North 95. So that's why 276 ends. So that could be why 276 is signed for New Jersey, because they don't want a 3-digit interstate saying New York City. Same deal here, except New Jersey is now dropped, and it just says New York City. So that is the decision I would go with for sure. Good job. Just one more sign here on I-276. This is where it begins in the east before it goes west. 95 sign south for Philadelphia. Good. And West 276 Harrisburg. Alright, we move on to number 2, which is going to be I-279. Most of the way, I-279 North is signed for Erie, but it's not on an overhead, and this basically is the only overhead sign we see, and it's an exit back onto the main road from the HOV lane. There are more overhead signs, though, going southbound, and it is Pittsburgh most of the way. So, good job. Where we start at our parent freeway of I-79, signed south for Washington with no PA there. Stupid. I-279 is signed south for Pittsburgh as well, it should be. Things in downtown Pittsburgh, however, are quite different. We got 279 North Fort Duquesne Bridge and North Shore. Here in Pittsburgh, they always like to sign the bridges. If they didn't sign the bridge, they probably should go with North Shore, Line, Erie. But the thing is, they won't actually sign Erie until we are out of the city. So here, North 279 gets absolutely no control cities. And why not just one sign instead of 2? Same deal here as I-579 ends, we get 279 North nothing. They obviously have room to put Erie on that sign, which makes it all the more ridiculous. Anywho, number 3 is I-180. A funny road in of itself, but everything picked on it does make good sense. Ignoring the 80 signage, we can see I-180 is signed west for Williamsport, which is the right pick. That's where it goes, and it's a 3-digit interstate. Though when we're in Williamsport, 180 still hasn't ended yet, and we get these control cities, Lock Haven and Mansfield. This is because of US 220 and 15. Not 180. For these US highways, they're as sensible as they can get. Here going eastbound, we can see 180 is getting the control city of Montoursville, and that's okay because really there is nothing that 180 will go through after it ends. Here at a random interchange in Montoursville, we get Milton after that, and that is fine because 180 is going to turn into PA 147, which goes to Milton. So that is good signage. And number 4 is going to be I-283, which is just very short, of course, but I want to include it anyways because we did a video on it. As we can see on I-76, we get I-283 and PA-283. For Harrisburg and Hershey, they always sign Hershey on there just because of 322, which will be taken by 422 to Hershey. And I get it because it's a nice tourist attraction and a sweet place. But I feel that you could instead put something for PA 283 somewhere where PA 283 goes, and if you would follow it, you would end up going to Lancaster. Here at the other end, South 283 is getting Harrisburg International Airport. That's a fine control city as it directs people to the airport if they don't want to pay a toll. But you could also go the way that 283 is angling. But just before 76, we get the signage for 76 Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, so those are great. Alright, number 5 is going to be I-176, the first video I did on this series. Here in I-76, the top control city is Morgantown just because it's the name of the interchange, but that's not our control city. Our control city is actually Reading. Even though we don't touch Reading, Reading is the logical control city here. And you may have guessed why this is lower than the others. We get 176 South Morgantown. This is too common of a thing, signing interstates for where they meet with the turnpike. I hate it. Hate it, hate it, hate it. This should be Philadelphia because that's the way this thing is angling. And number 6 is going to be I-476. Even though this road is part of the turnpike, we still get some stuff that bumps it down this far. So here is where the northeast extension of 476 begins, and right away it is signed for Allentown. That is great signage as expected on the turnpike. At the couple of random interchanges we have between Allentown and I-276, we get South 476 to 276 Philadelphia and 476 North Allentown, as they should be. And once we're in Allentown, we get North Scranton and South Philadelphia, as they should be as well. And you probably saw this coming. South of the turnpike, we get Plymouth Meeting and Chester. 476 should be signed for Allentown from the very beginning, and South 476 should be signed for Baltimore. Just because of PA's obsession with Chester and Plymouth Meeting because it's where it meets I-276, those are nothing worth signing. No, though here at the interchange itself, we get 476 South Philadelphia, but we also get Chester. That should say Philadelphia, Baltimore. Even at the beginning of 95, we get Plymouth Meeting. Ugh. Turnpike cities. Anyways, number 7, my former home 3-digit interstate, 376. I feel pretty bad having to rank this one low. Here's a big reason why. 376 signed for Newcastle, when you can sign Pittsburgh on this as well as 79. They're pretty much only allowed to sign Pittsburgh once we're in Newcastle. I have no understanding as to why they wouldn't do it from 80. Here at 76, 376 West gets Newcastle, which I'm fine with actually signing going westbound, which is actually really northbound. And 376 East is getting Beaver and Pittsburgh. Beaver is something I would definitely not sign going eastbound at all. Though in Beaver itself, we're now signed for just Pittsburgh, and it's gonna stick to that the whole way until Pittsburgh. Because once we get into city limits, we finally get 376 East Monroeville. And that's only because it's a turnpike city. No, just sign something for the turnpike, which is Harrisburg. Westbound signage is something I do agree with because it's better for people leaving the city rather than people traveling towards the city. So we got West 376, Carnegie, and Airport. I think Airport would do the job by itself. Here we are meeting PA 576, and I did show you an old sign from the start, and this is a new one where it's signed for Washington now. And 376 West here gets Beaver. I still don't agree with Beaver going westbound. It should be Newcastle, if anything. Because as I mentioned earlier, Newcastle is something I would agree with going westbound, but not eastbound. So here we get it, just Newcastle in Beaver. And once we're in Newcastle, we get signage for Sharon, which I don't know too much about, but I think it's fine to direct it there. It should not be fine to direct 80 there at all. Alright, number 8, our penultimate interstate is I-676. It's just the central Philadelphia road, but it also goes into New Jersey. So right from the jump, we get East 676, East US 30, Central Phila. And I'm fine with that since that's exactly where it goes. We can see the Philadelphia skyline right there. Here at I-95, where 676 weirdly exits onto some streets, it's signed for Ben Franklin Bridge. And from here, I think it should be signed for Atlantic City because of I-76 and the Atlantic City Expressway. Westbound on this same street, we get Central Villa again, just because we're going into the city. But here, before we get to I-76, we're signed for International Airport and, you guessed it,
Valley Forge.
definitely should be Harrisburg. I keep saying this too many times. And number 9, last place, you probably saw this one coming, I-380. 380 the whole way northbound gets Scranton, which I do like, and that's the only good thing about I-380. But southbound, we get 380 South Mount Pocono from the jump. Oh no. Great resort destination as it is, but certainly not worth Control Cityhood. And here is the main reason why it's last place. I completely flipped out over this. South I-380, Hazleton, Stroudsburg. These are I-80's control cities going either way. The way the road is angling here, this needs to be New York City. And obviously, New York City doesn't exist on I-80 at all in Pennsylvania. So that is a thing that needs to change hard. It is even at this random interchange. 2 directions, Stroudsburg, Hazleton. Those are I-80's controlled cities once again, and this is why I-380 is last place, because once again, New York City does not exist. You know, this is the second time that this gag had to happen, so I apologize deeply again. So it's time for the tier chart now. Bring it up. Here we are, and for this one I'm going to say that there is nobody in S tier. I don't really see much that strikes me as S. I give 276 an A because I still think New Jersey should just say New York. We got quite a bit of B's today. We got 279, which in downtown Pittsburgh, well, North Shore technically, doesn't get any control cities. It should just say Erie there. 180 and 283 are the best that you could hope for, even though there's not much to sign. Sea level, 176 just because of the Turnpike City, that's the interchange. 476 because everything is good on the northeast extension, but everything south of that sucks. D level, 376 because of a Turnpike City and Newcastle signed eastbound where it should be Pittsburgh. And 676 because of Valley Forge, that one city that everyone does not agree with at all. And final level, Pennsylvania tier, I threw I-380 in there because of the I-80 cities. We all know that it's supposed to be New York City. And since Pennsylvania refuses to sign New York City on 80, that's why this gets the Pennsylvania tier. And that is it for this special installment of Shaming PENNDOT. US 22 will be up next week, so you still have time to request for those. Thank you, and I will see you then.